So, welcome today to Character Voiceover Essentials with Cristina Milizia and David Rosenthal. For those of you who do not know who David Rosenthal is, I would love to introduce one of my absolute best buddies in voiceover, brilliant voiceover coach and voiceover actor. So, David's been voicing video games and computer games for the past 20 years. He's been in 70 different video games, including Call of Duty. What was your character in Call of Duty, actually, sir?
Sir, wow, I'm a sir now. That's really that's good. John Price.
John Price.
Yeah,
Excellent.
if anybody knows John Price, that's him. All right. Anyway,
Sounds
uh,
awesome.
yeah,
Batman, the Dead Space trilogy, Siphon Filter games, and the Armor Core games.
we're
Um,
going back in time there,
Back in time for
but
those
there
of you.
there may be some heavy duty video guys from back when those were pretty darn cool.
Fantastic. And just quickly before I go on, David, you can see the screen well and everything, no
Oh
issues.
yeah, everything's good.
Okay,
Everything's great.
perfect. No bizarre pictures of me or anything. That's okay, good.
No,
Okay, good.
no, we'll save those for later.
Okay. Oh
Um,
my God. All right. David is also the founder of Internet Voice Coach. For those of you who know what that is, it is a brilliant online voiceover resource library containing scripts and videos, interviews, and all kinds of different resources for voiceover talent. And he can tell you a little bit more about that later on at the end of the presentation. When we take questions. He also has helped people get started and develop their careers further for many professional voice talents out there. And he's one of the people who actually helped edit and create my recent animation demo. So just my pleasure to introduce David Rosenthal. So
Thank you so much.
yay!
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's a pleasure, and be fun to talk a little bit about character voice acting today with everybody here.
Now, we have a full presentation. It's probably be about 45 minutes, I would estimate, with the way that we both love to talk about characters. So we'll do our best to keep it within a decent, reasonable limit.
Time frame.
So.
Good.
So before we begin, this is a copyrighted presentation. Obviously, it's on YouTube, so it is public and available to everyone to view. But if you would like to share any of the content in any other medium, totally fine with us. Just please write me an email and ask permission so that I am aware that it's being used elsewhere. Again, we are doing these to help create educational resources and opportunities for the voiceover community, so they are free to share, but again, we just ask that you let us know. Okay, so here we go. Just jumping right in there. So I'll go ahead and start, David, and then you can just go on with the next
Yeah.
slide, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds great.
Okay, so first and foremost, what skills do I need? So first thing, we're just going to cover our essential skills for character voiceover. And again, David's been coaching for 25 years. I'm not even sure how long you've been a voice talent doing character work.
30.
30 years. Wow. Well done. And
Yes, I have 30 years. Little whippersnapper. No, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
and I am 7 years behind you. I've been a voiceover actor, character actor for 23. So I'm the baby here. So, okay. So first and foremost, energy, 100%. And I really feel like I should have probably deleted that and put 1,000%, maybe 2,000%, because it really is, that is, if you were going to just narrow character voiceover down in general to any one thing that was the most important thing, it would be this energy. Character voiceover is huge in comparison to to commercial work, narration work, and pretty much every other genre of voiceover. The energy required, both physically and emotionally, and in terms of your intent and attention, is just it's gigantic. And when I say energy, I don't mean volume, which people often confuse it with. So just to give you an idea of that, again, I would love to do a little demonstration with you, David. So often I will direct people and ask, okay, so that sounded good, but I need more energy. So let's just do the phrase, let's play a game. So just go ahead and just do a sort of a more lower key delivery for me.
Yeah. Let's play a game.
Okay, good. And so now I'm going to pretend you do not know what I'm talking about. And okay, I need more energy. So give me the volume version.
Let's play a game.
Okay, good. So even that had a little too much inflection, but that was good. So yes, so it does not mean just make everything louder. A lot of people confuse energy with this just rise in just overall volume, which is not what we're talking about. So now go ahead and give me one that's more energetic, but not not louder in terms of volume.
Let's play a game.
Nice. And see, he actually inflected down on the end. He didn't even let it raise up. And just to play with it, why don't you give me 3 takes of an energized read?
Let's play a game. Let's play a game. Let's play a game.
Beautiful. And see, he threw in a little laugh in there, which gave it a lot of personality. And again, all of these things have nothing to do with volume. It's about the energy, the intent, the true, just it's a very focused intent. And it can actually even be very quiet on occasion. So you can actually do a very energized whisper, even. And that will come up. Go ahead, do it.
Let's play a game.
And now it turns evil. So yeah, absolutely, the intent changes everything. So excellent demonstration. So well done. So yes, but energy, that is the biggest thing that I notice whenever I'm directing talent, especially when it comes to kids and toys and mobile game apps. The energy has to be even bigger. So most important concept. Number 2, willingness to be uncomfortable. So when you're a character actor, you will be asked to do many things that might not be something you're very comfortable with. Question, David, what is the oddest thing you've ever been asked to do in a voiceover session?
Well, I was in a session where there was a rather heated sexual moment.
Really?
Yeah, and
Character job.
oh yeah, big time. It was for I can't remember what it was called, Psychic River or something like that. It was a detective kind of whodunit type of thing. Very noirish type of stuff, and I got carried away. They wanted me. They said, just get carried away, just kind of move into that moment. And I got so carried away that I ripped the buttons off my shirt. And I didn't really have another shirt to use, so I had to do the rest of the. I'm sorry, but that's the case. So I had to do the rest of the gig with my shirt open because I couldn't button it back. I didn't know. I thought I was just gonna like hold on to the top of it, but it actually just.
I'm so glad you didn't tell me that before we actually did this, because that is amazing.
Thank
Wow.
you. Well, the things you do, I will ruin my shirt for this gig. Anyway.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No one has ever asked me to do that, and it's probably because it's not.
And that's probably a good thing. Yes.
Probably a good thing, and I'd probably say that the strangest thing I've ever been asked to do where I was uncomfortable. There's been a few things. I did actually. I've been asked to do a number of animals on the spot that I was like, what? Like frogs and pigs and things where it's not really that flattering, but you gotta try. I had to do a whole voiceover once in pig emotives, if you will. Like I couldn't actually say any words, but I had to like express the emotion. I love you, and let's play, and this is fun in pig. And people have asked me to duplicate this later because they want to hear it, and I refuse because I don't even remember what I did, and I don't want to know. But we got it done. I also had one game where I was asked to do throwing up noises for half an hour.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was for a little boy's game where it was all about like farting and burping and like just disgusting noises for like little 8-year-old boys.
I want that game.
Apparently, it has some appeal for boys. So they asked me to come in and do throwing up noises for half an hour, and then they added like a splash sound effect at the end. It was disgusting. But the point is, I got paid for it. And you do what you got to do, and the more you're willing to do, you will be asked to do things like that as a character actor. And best thing to do is just have fun with it and be like, well, okay, this is what I'm doing today. So be prepared for that if you really do want to work in character voiceover. Okay, spontaneity, acting in the moment without thinking. There's a number of things here. Again, like I just mentioned, you will be asked to do things on the spot that you will not be anticipating. And if you are able to do those things, then they will love you. You may be filling holes for them that they haven't filled yet. It could become an opportunity for you later. And in addition, this is also part of voiceover technique, because if you are premeditated in your voiceover, and goes for commercial as well or any other type of voiceover, sounding like you're not really in the moment, where it's not spontaneous, can be a hindrance, and it doesn't sound as believable. It can sound like you're reading. It doesn't sound like you're right in that moment. So that's a very important aspect of character, so that it really does sound like it's happening right then, and it's alive
And
and
also,
breathing.
also beyond the spontaneity of a single character, there's the spontaneity of being extremely adaptable in the moment. For instance, I was at EA doing a game, and they just said, "Hey, can you do a young kid?" And I said, I don't know, let me try. And so they gave me the lines and they said, great, that's fine. And so all of a sudden I was doing a little kid for them. They didn't have to bring anybody else in, which they were very happy about. And they remembered that
Mm-hmm.
for future. It's being able to be there, adaptable, spontaneous, just making things happen in the moment, not worrying about, you just you just throw everything in and just say, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And if it works for them, fine. I wasn't originally supposed to do that role. Um, so it would have, it was a bonus for them. It was fun for me, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Absolutely. I actually just did a movie, and they found out that with a Hispanic speaking character, not Hispanic, not actually speaking Spanish, but with a Hispanic
with an
accent.
accent,
And they
yeah.
asked me, I started just throwing in a few random Spanish words, and they loved it. So just throwing in a little bit of extra, they were like, oh, that's fantastic. Let's do more of it. So, definitely is a plus. And then in the process, they found out I spoke Spanish, which gave me more opportunities in the future in that realm. So,
Sure.
cool. Okay, so last one on here: understand and know your instrument. This is important for two reasons. Number one, so that you don't damage your voice, and number two, so that you know the full range of everything that you can do. So understanding completely, what's the top of your range, what's the bottom, how loud can you be, how quiet can you be, what are all of the subtleties in your vocal quality that you can express. All of that is going to be advantageous and useful for
And you
conveying
and
complex characters. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. And the only way that you can truly know that is to experiment, is to explore, is to play with your voice, to find out what your true power range is. Also by moving, do you have the facility to move into your nose for nasal type delivery? Do you have the ability to go back into the back of your throat and there's a high back of your throat and there's a low back of your throat, and they're all, there's just has to be areas in which you won't know what your full limit is until you play with everything. You're going to find that, well, I can do that sound, but I can only do it for 5 minutes before I start coughing, before it's uncomfortable. And then there are other places inside your vocal availability and tonal range that you're going to be able to do forever. But you got to explore. You got to have a great time, and working with a coach to really understand where that is a fantastic way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, in terms of the limits, if you don't know what's going to be damaging to your voice, you may end up locked into a session for 4 hours that could destroy you completely. So, know what's going to be good for you, what's going to be healthy, and what you are not going to be able to sustain. Which brings us
And
to, go ahead. What were you going to say?
and that's really important for you to know. I mean, a lot of people want to be everything. They want to be, oh, I want to do that, and I want to be able to do that. And sometimes their vocal range just doesn't allow them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be what you have to do is you have to understand what your attributes are, what your assets are, and you have to promote the hell out of that. You have to say, this is what I do really well. No, I am never going to be the inner world guy, but
Mm-hmm.
I can do a hell of a lot of other things that those people can't. And so you find your niche, you find what you're good at, and you extol those virtues in every way possible. But don't don't push yourself into areas which are just not going to work for you.
Right. No, well said. Cool. So do you want to take this slide? Obviously, I talked about vocal technique, which is more my thing, but
Yes.
okay, I'll talk about vocal technique. Then you do.
Yes, you
So,
will.
okay. So vocal technique. This is tied into what we were just talking about, which is, understanding what's going to be healthy for your voice or not. As many of you know, I am a vocal technique coach as well. So I use that in my character work because often we're asked to do very extreme things. Having good vocal technique, whether you learn it from a singer, a classically trained singer, or from a coach who has an experience in vocal technique, will help you. It will help you explore that vocal range to know, what different qualities of your voice can come out through training, proper training, and you will also learn how to do it without damaging anything. It will teach you how to increase your vocal resonance, how to decrease your vocal resonance, and how to work from your diaphragm so that you have more power. So vocal technique is a huge advantage. Not all voice actors have good vocal technique, in a conscious way, but many voice actors, character voice actors out there who are working actually naturally have good vocal technique without even knowing what they're doing. And those are the people who tend to work and to keep working. So
Sure.
two people I know are Bill DeWeese and David Rosenthal. Just naturally, you guys are just like tanks. You're in a good place. You do it without even thinking. So well done. So take it away, David.
Take it away, David. So enunciation and diction, really super important, and especially important. Well, especially important because lots of times as a character you're going to be trying on a different accent or literally different voice placement. Um, and when this happens, because you are so involved with the essence of a character and really being true to that, sometimes what goes by the way is enunciation and diction. And yet that can't happen because it's even more important when you are working either with a dialect or an accent or different vocal placement to be understood. Because it's so easy not to be understood if you're playing with a wild accent, and maybe not only within a wild accent, but in a state of heightened excitement or fury or anything like that. That's why some part of you, while you are acting and while you're being there in the moment, spontaneous, as we talked about before, has to be alert. The actor has to be alert to being very dictive and clear with their words. Otherwise, people will lose attention really easily. If you've got a great character, but everything's coming out such a way that it's just impossible for people to understand. People are not going to hold on to that for very long before they say, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. But if you can create the tension, the fury, the excitement, and they're holding on to every word because they can understand every word, you've got them where you want them. You can take them wherever you want. But so that's extremely important. We talked about the 3 different strong reads per take. Well, we didn't talk about it. I gave you an example earlier, and being able to give a production and a direction crew exactly what they need is fantastic. You will make their life easier. You will make your life easier. You'll get out of there sooner, and and at the same time, you are showing them that you are exactly the type of person that they want to work with in the future. Someone that does not need to be directed so much because you have the ability to direct yourself, because you know how to give 3 different line reads for the same emotional situation that you're going into. I mean, you have to understand when there's a director in a video game, very rarely do they actually want to sit there and spend time directing you. There are so many different aspects to the game that they're having to deal with that they want to hire somebody who they can just say, that was great. Give me one just a little bit less there. Okay, now we're moving on. Now the next. That's where it works. That's that sweet spot. So don't expect them to hand feed you or spend a lot of time directing you, because that's why they hired you. Because you're going to be able to be that self-directed person, understanding how 3 different nuances of the same read will be enough for them to create a choice or get a choice from that so that they can say, yeah, that's great, that's all we need, let's move on. It's always
Mhm.
nice to hear, great, we've got that, let's move on.
Just
And
to
then,
give a
yes,
quick
please.
example of that, I just wanted to just show how different, how this really, especially in like toys and games, how this might come out. So say we're doing a game and I'm supposed to be the guide in it, and I am saying, "Can you help me find the red ball?" Here's three different reads. Can you help me find the red ball? Can you help me find the red ball? Can you help me find the red ball? All three of those emphasize different things. The first one asked, can you find the red ball? Which makes people aware maybe there's a yellow ball and a blue ball, maybe there's a number of color choices. Second one refers to the person. Can you help me find the red ball? So this is really asking for participation. And the third one, can you help me find the red ball, implies that there are different shapes or that there are different objects there for them to select from. So all three of those are vastly different and are going to vastly affect the gameplay. So being able to honestly already see what they're going to need and understand and be able to deliver that is going to make a director your best friend. So.
And not only that, then it can get, I mean, the different reads can also be, I mean, what we're talking about is by emphasizing different words, you're changing the meaning of the sentence, which is really, really important to be able to understand and to know how to do that. But what if a director said, I like that third take that you did, but can you give me that third take with more excitement? Can you do the second one with a little bit more confusion and the first one with a little bit more trepidation? you know, and so
Okay.
you know, no, I'm not going to ask you to do that right now, but
I'll
I'm
do it.
saying, but I'm saying that you have to be that adaptable, and that those different reads can sometimes simply be conceptual in terms of the sense of where to put the emphasis, but also it can be emotional. That those different emotions can affect how somebody is saying something. So
I
if you're
can't
super,
find the red ball.
yeah,
Can you find the
oh,
red ball?
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'd be more than happy to help you, Christina. So yeah, that's
Okay.
fantastic.
All
All
right.
right, moving on to authenticity. Authenticity is about being so real and so genuine that no one will ever doubt the truth from where these emotions are coming from. That you are using the best part of who you are to create a strong, genuine emotional reaction or action within a game or a toy or anything like that, any kind of character. When I think of authenticity, I am having as an actor to move in if it is a dark, evil character, to authentically move into that dark space. Um, that doesn't mean that I hate my character. As a matter of fact, I am that character. So unless there's a lot of self-loathing in that character, then even though that character may do horrifying things, I'm coming from a completely authentic place of revenge, of having been slighted earlier in my life against somebody, being made to feel less than,
Mm-hmm.
and moving from that authenticity to be able to truly create an emotion which comes across as genuine and real.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. All right. Large emotional range. I
Just like that guy on the right there.
love that guy. Awesome. Having a large emotional range will obviously give you more tools for your work. Knowing the extremes of that emotional range, knowing as many different types of emotions as possible and how they sound, which we will go into a little bit more detail later with an exercise that we're going to give everyone to play with. But um, cartoon characters, animation characters, video game characters, every type of character in character work, the emotions that they show are gigantic, and there is a huge range. So you're going to want to have immediate control and be able to call these up right away and have them be at 100% right away. You don't want to have to warm up into them. You're going to want to have them right there for you for whenever you need them.
And really quickly, that has a lot to do with practice.
Mm-hmm.
in the same sense that if you have a body, somebody decides that they're going to start bodybuilding, their first step is not to go and lift that 300-pound weight. I mean,
Hmm.
you got to work up to that. And in that sense, you really, that emotional range, so that you're not spasming emotionally, you have to work up to these places where you find what those extremes are, where you're aware of like using this emotional muscle instead of that one gets the desired effect for this. So, this is not something you just, throw yourself into. This is something that takes practice and time.
Hmm. And of course, being able to express those emotions with diction and control, and all of that good stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
It definitely takes practice. So
Right.
versatility. This is one of the biggest, I think, uh, points on this list. Being a versatile character actor is one of the biggest strengths you can have out there. Why? Number one, it will give you more opportunities for work because you'll be able to audition for more types of projects. Number two, you will be able to work more parts within the same project. There are games, especially video games, where they will often ask for auditions and they will say, do not submit unless you are submitting for at least 3 to 5 roles. They
Correct.
do not want you unless you are able to do that because it cuts down time for them. It cuts down the amount of paperwork they do, the amount of actors they have to do. Have to work with. They want to keep it simple, and you make that process easier for them. So the more versatile you are, the better. David and I both know this firsthand. He has been doing some casting work and put me with a company called Libby Games, and they will hire me for things that they know need 4 or 5 voices in one game.
Hmm.
And they'll just let me just run with it, kind of, which is great. And they know that I can cover it all. So that's a tremendous strength and a compliment to me, and I'm very grateful for it. But obviously, it took time to work up to that. So, anything you wanted to add on that?
Uh, no, I mean, I think you hit that base pretty good. I mean, in those two important points, that you're going to get more work, and you're going to get more work within a particular game, and you'll develop a rep.
Mm-hmm.
You will develop a rep over time as, oh, he's one of those people, or she's one of those people who we know we can rely on to do those, 3 to 4 voices. So let's call on her. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's really, if you're in this to get work, people. And I mean, unless it's simply just fun and you can do it as a hobby. But if you're out there to get some work doing this, then yeah, versatility is like pretty much number one there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, ability to do wild lines. I love this one because it is so true. And what we're talking about are lines that are out of context. When you go in to do a job, especially video games, or actually, I think I see it mostly with video games, but it can happen at any time, really, any
Hmm.
kind of medium. They will often ask you to do the script completely out of context. You will have no idea what the scene is. You have no idea who you're talking to or what's going on or nothing. You know nothing. But you still have to read that line and make it make sense. Sometimes the director will give you a little bit more information as to what's going on, especially if it's totally unclear. But regardless, you have to make that sentence work emotionally. You have to have it make sense with the script. It has to sound seamless with all the other characters and the storyline, and that can be hard to do if you're not used to pulling up emotions right away. Really up to date with your, not up to date, but up to snuff, if you will, with your script analysis and understanding copy, and practiced because that does take practice. So.
One of the things I do in my character class is um, almost all character work is dialogue. I mean, there are people that you are relating to and talking with and have feelings about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you if you're having that, if you have the ability to have that visual, which every once in a while you're lucky enough in a particular video game to actually see the visuals in relation to what you're doing, fantastic. Then you have context. But what I like to do is like say, okay, let's have this dialogue. So people are like doing the dialogue back and forth, and I say, now I want you to do it by yourself. And it's amazing how the energy goes down
Hmm.
without that other person there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going like, hey, half of the time, more than half of the time, you are auditioning by yourself. And yet you've got to create the energy that is naturally there with another person because you're feeding off of their energy and they're feeding off of yours. You do it, and then all of a sudden the energy goes down, going, so you see how that didn't work? And so they have to push that energy back up again out of context, meaning they're going from one line to the next without the benefit of having another person responding to them. They're having to create that themselves, and that's not always easy.
Nope.
So, yeah.
All right. Cool. I think we're done with that slide.
Yep.
All right. All you.
All right. Physicality. I love physicality. Physicality is so important because you can't have a character and not be in their body. It's just impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, doing character work is more of a workout. I have a guy who is a friend of mine who does character work. He's also a personal trainer at a training club,
Mm-hmm.
and so he was telling me how going into doing a couple of hours of character work where you're on the battlefield, you're having to die this, die short, die fast, die slow, die loud, die and then do a forward lunge, do a defensive feint, all sorts of things like that is 10 times more exhausting than doing a regular physical workout.
Really interesting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I feel
he just
exhausted. I mean, for sure, but I just didn't know that a trainer. Well, I mean, I was a trainer as well, but like that he
yeah.
would compare it to that. Interesting.
Well, yeah, you did because at the end of a workout, you're tired, but you're still, so much of you is still available to move.
Right. It's not
Whereas,
emotional. Yeah.
exactly. So the combination of being physical and emotional at the same time, be prepared after a 3 or 4 hour stint on a heavy duty video game
Mm-hmm.
to come home, take a shower because you're going to be drenched in sweat,
Yep.
and then hit the hay because
Yep.
you're going to be exhausted.
I'm starving, actually. I
Yeah,
always go and I
exactly.
eat
That
a
too.
giant meal.
Right. So I hope that along the way, what we're getting across is that character work is a completely different beast than commercial and narration work. It involves a level of physicality, of emotional commitment that is off the charts. And I love doing that, but you're going to have to love to do that too. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to love to play so much and involve your body and your mind all at once so much that nothing can get in your way. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody either has the facility, the wherewithal, the emotional availability to do this. Physically, you need to keep in fairly good shape. I mean, I know people who do this kind of stuff, but they've also told me that, wow, I got so lightheaded at one point. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, wow, I wonder why that is.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yes, physicality is super important. Why don't you do emotives, reactions, and efforts real quick?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So, emotives,
Fantastic.
reactions, and
Wonderful.
efforts.
And
So,
we like that because she does it better than I do.
well, you want to do the action stuff? Do some action stuff.
No. Come on. Okay,
Ooh,
let's go.
that was good. Nice. You're good. So those are the two, actually two maybe vocal extremes in terms of the nonverbal and the action, and a demonstration of each. You will be asked, in video games especially, animation as well, to do anything that sounds like an action sequence. You'll be asked to run, which David just demonstrated, or he was maybe lifting something heavy, to punch something, to be punched. Again, for video games, sometimes people have very dramatic deaths that you might have to voice. So you might be being burned alive. You might be falling off a cliff. You might be, being slashed to death. They can be very violent, quite violent, and you have to find a way to express that vocally. All of those little reactions, those tiny, tiny things that sometimes we don't notice are parts of, a part of cartoons and video games. People hear it all the time. You really notice it if you hear one where they don't have a wide variety, and you'll just play a game, you just hear like, ugh, 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 and you hear it over and over again, like, it becomes really obvious. And you're just like, kill it with fire. But so that's what can happen when you don't have a wide variety in there. But it is a part of every character actor's repertoire to have some good action and effort sounds. I did an expression of a demonstration of nonverbal. What I call emotives. People call this all types of things. You could call it gibberish if you want, but often you will be asked to anthropomorphize character. Do something that's a little bit more anthropomorphic, maybe a squirrel or just a cute little alien creature, or
your
something.
pig.
Or your pig, and you will not be able to say any words because they don't talk. But you still have to express how they're feeling. So you have to find a way to express that with tone and pitch and your underlying emotion, and let that come out in a way that is clear and communicates the message with no language whatsoever. So if you can do that, it is a huge plus. You will actually, I think Andrea Romano mentioned it on a VO Buzz Weekly interview. She said, if you can do gibberish, man, put it on a demo because it's awesome. So I went out and put gibberish on my demo because I was like, cool. I can do that craziness. Rock on.
Yeah. And you never know when that's gonna, be required. So to actually have it on a demo is fantastic, especially if you do it really well. Yeah. If you don't do it so well, then maybe not.
All right, stamina and endurance.
Stamina and endurance. Again, we talked about this earlier. That with the level of physicality, the emotional demands that are being made on your voice as well as your psyche are incredible, and you have to want this kind of work. You have to want to be able to get in there for 3 and 4 hours and be tossed around. It's not always. Not all 4 hours is going to be like that. But sometimes one of those 4 hours is going to be like that, and so to have the endurance to after 3 hours to go into, and I say after 3 hours to go into these more emotive action reactions, all that kind of stuff that we were talking about. I do those at the end. I go in there and I say, okay, are we going to have a lot of physical activity going on here? I want to do that at the end. Otherwise, if I do it at the beginning, my voice is going to be shot, and I'm not going to be able to do what they want for the other 3 hours. So and that's all stuff that you're going to have to be aware of, how your voice works and taking care of it in the best way possible. But yeah, at the end of all that, at the end of that 4 hours, you have to be able to come back and do that again in like 2 days or 3 days, So that's stamina and endurance, and then taking direction effectively. It's always fun when you're doing an audition because you're giving your best idea of who this character is. And then when you get into if you are lucky enough to get the gig, when you get in there, they may have a slightly different idea of who that person is, and at that point you are an actor taking direction. Whether or not you completely believe that even that's the best direction, you got to take it, and you got to do it effectively. You can't be sitting there going like, well, I don't think that's what that's not really your job at that point.
They will not bring you back. No.
Right. If you're going to sit there protesting, and now there are ways where you can say, hey, let me try this and see if this works really quick. And if you're not taking too much of their time, maybe you're able to somehow instill a little bit of your own idea into the character. But ultimately, you are there to effectively create the character that the director's looking for.
Yep.
And so there really has to be that facility, that ease, that willingness to go wherever, to know how to take direction and then just blow it out so that they're getting what they want, and you've done your part. And okay, so that's also a skill.
It is. I call that the dancing monkey skill personally. You have to be a good dancing monkey to do this job and not be attacked. And the better The better dancing monkey, that doesn't make grammatical sense. If you are a good dancing monkey, you will work a lot.
Mhm.
So they ask you to stand on your head and say the alphabet backwards in elephant. Do it. All right. More ways to add dimension. Oh, you talk about this page because I think the next page is the building blocks of sound, which I'd rather talk about. So you talk about
Yes,
this one.
please.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so, more ways to add dimension. Physical characteristics. Really, really important that when you get a visual of who this character is, that you can uh, put that character into your body. And that's going to mean being very aware of things like facial tics, about a raised shoulder for a humpback, about a gammy leg, about having all sorts of stuff. I mean,
Buck
there's
teeth,
so what buck
buck
teeth?
teeth or
Yeah,
braces.
that's definitely gonna affect the way you sound. Um, but that these simply creating, uh, it's not just in your mouth. The sound isn't just coming out of your mouth. The sound is coming from an awareness of your whole body type and who this character is and how they hold themselves. That will animate the spirit, which will animate the voice. And so being aware of all sorts of little differences is really going to help you understand and create more nuance to a character who might be very broad otherwise. Um,
Right. And
musicality,
sorry, just can
yes,
I
go
just
ahead,
add that? And the other thing I was going
please.
to say in terms of sound like they look, if you are lucky enough to receive a visual with your audition, meaning a
Hmm.
picture of the character, take time to take into account, okay, are there any physical characteristics here that I can bring into my voiceover? Are they
Right.
tall and lanky? Are they, are they a more, perhaps a heavier character? Obviously, how old they are. And, there's a lot of work that goes into the artistic creation that has been sent to you. So, give it some time.
Hmm.
So, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Musicality, very important when you, in order to keep a listener's and audience attention, is not to simply have your voice stay here in the same tonal range for long periods of time. It'll put people to sleep. You notice how I'm really kind of just managed now to stay within a very, very particular range. It's okay, but after a while, this is not going to be okay. And frankly, nobody speaks just like this all the time anyway. So instead, if I'm up here one second and down here the next, I'm always moving and weaving and bobbing with my whole voice so that people don't really know where I'm going next. And because they don't know where I'm going next, there's always this sense of being on the edge of your seat. And you're going to keep people's attention, and you're going to be more true to the actual musicality of conversational speech by doing that. So never find yourself lulled into the complacency, even if there's a character, if there's like that, you know, that John Rambo quality that he's always, right there in that kind of place. I mean, even he has some energy every once in a while.
Every
I
once in
didn't
a
know you
while.
were I didn't know you were talking to me. Instead
I,
of
I
I
love
didn't know
Stallone.
you were talking to me. Okay, so anyway, musicality is super important. Being able to have that facility in your own voice is going to be incredible. Mimicry and impressions. A lot of people start with oh, well, I can do this character voice that has been on this particular cartoon for 5 years. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. And the fact that you can mimic or do an impression of something really well that you already know, that's good. They're never going to be asking for that, though, because they already have that character.
Hmm.
They don't need another character like that. So if you do Homer Simpson really well, that's great, and that's good for your friends, and you can like wow them and make them
Good for your friend.
eat out of your hands, and
Good
you
for
can
parties.
good for parties, exactly. However, if you take that impression and you mess with it, say, okay, this is a springboard for something else, that can actually turn into an interesting character that you had no idea about before. But feeling like I'm only good at mimicry, I'm only good when I can mirror a voice, that's not really using the kind of essential creativity and imagination that's going to be required of you in doing character work because, and we're going to get to this slide in a second, we're really talking about creating unique characters. Characters that may have arisen from one thing but end up being hybridized into something totally unique and yours. So that's why, it's a good place to start, but not a good place to finish
Right,
mimicry and impressions.
and just to add an interjection here, I think it's Hank Azaria who has that
Yep.
wonderful quote that says, "Don't ever throw away your bad impressions because a bad impression might be a fantastic character." And then he proceeds to do a demonstration of how many of his Simpsons characters are actually terrible impressions of some very famous movie stars.
Right. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Check it out because it's amazing, and you're like, "Wow, I should really work on my impressions." So, go ahead.
And then use your body. Well, we've definitely talked about using your body, the
Yeah.
physicality of this.
Yeah.
So we don't really have to go into that too much,
Yeah.
except the idea of tapping into your subconscious,
Mhm.
that your body more than your brain is going to understand the truth of an emotional, physical moment. And so whereas your brain can quantify and analyze, and it's a really good thing for all that. We want to keep our brains, we want to keep them happy. It's your body that has that sense of immediate sense memory. That's what you're going to want to tap into, and that's what that subconscious level of availability needs to be there. So there you go for use your body in another way. And
Use
now we're
your
moving on.
body. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Oh, it's not the building block of sound, but that's okay. So, how do I make a character unique? This is